Hey guys, welcome back to another FPL video. This is the weekly series with Olivia Buzaglo. I'm super excited. Even though my game week did not go as planned, I'm pretty upset about it actually. So Liv, how are you doing? How is your double game week?
I'm good. My double game week wasn't horrendous. I got 95 points, which I think is quite good. I wasn't playing a chip. I mean, I used my wild card, but like nothing that could have affected my team directly, obviously on a player like triple captain or bench boost, which I think a lot of people use their bench boost and only got a few more points than me. So I think I did okay.
I don't know. I think I got. I forget because it was like still calculating. I think I got like high 70s or low 80s, but I used my triple captain on Gundogan and it didn't pay off at all. He didn't get, I think he got 1 assist and then didn't even play. I was like, this pep roulette is killing me. It's killing me. So going into game week 27, City have a double game week. Yeah. How are you preparing for this game week?
Let me just look at my team. So I have always had Diaz and Stones for the longest time, and I think one of Diaz, Stones, and Cancelo are obviously the 3 Man City defenders that everyone like has. I'm not going to sell either of them, but I'm also thinking that one of them is probably going to get dropped for one of those 2 games, especially with the Champions League back on as well. But I'm sticking with those 2. I've got enough players on my bench to, if I wanted to just drop one of them. But I just think with those 2 fixtures, Man United at home and Southampton away, like I think they'll keep a clean sheet in one of, if not both of them. So I'm keeping them. Gundogan is, I think, a good captaincy option for this week, just because he didn't play in the last game, which makes me think he's 100% starting against Man United. And depending on how that game goes, he could then start against Southampton as well. But my only worry is that they looked slightly worse off with Kevin De Bruyne in their team, which is mad to think about, completely mad. But I just thought Gundogan was pushed a little bit further back with De Bruyne. There wasn't just that. City didn't look against West Ham as good as they have been, albeit they got the win. But yeah, I'm keeping all 3, Diaz, Stones, and Gundogan. But Gundogan's my standout captaincy for this week as well.
Interesting. Jam here says to captain John Stones. It's interesting because I was thinking about captaining Diaz instead because my captaincy choices really haven't been paying off. And whenever I captain somebody, they don't get an attacking return. But I was thinking maybe if I captain Diaz, he's been playing week in, week out. But who knows, with Pep Roulette, he could be perfectly benched for one of those 2 games in the double game week. But I was hoping that he would play and at least keep a clean sheet, and then you get 12 points. So I don't know. How are you feeling? Like, do you think that that's a good strategy?
I've never captained a defender. I just and people have, and like I know my brother-in-law captained Cancelo when he got 19 points. But the problem is that John Stones, Diaz, and Cancelo have all been rested at some point, and they're not going to play every single game from now until the end of the season. I think Stones and Cancelo are more like, what's the word? Probably going to be rotated a little bit more, because Diaz just seems to be that one player who has sorted out their whole defence, and when he's in there, they do look solid. So if anyone's going to get rotated, it's going to be Cancelo and Stones. I think it's always brave captaining a defender, just because we saw against City, West Ham just scored 1 goal, and we were lucky that both Stones and Diaz had provided attacking returns. But let's remember, that's Diaz's first goal of the season. John Stones hasn't scored that many more. So it would be brave, but I understand the logic in thinking, well, they won't have to do anything to get a return. Whereas when you captain midfielders and strikers, they have to get a goal or an assist to get any returns. So yeah, it's a hard one. I'd say it's a good option. I'm personally not going to do it, but I think it's as good an option as anyone else.
Yeah, and so looking at this pep roulette, like I'm keeping those 3 City players. I have Cancelo, Diaz, and Gundogan in for this game week, because City double game week, I figure even if one of them doesn't play, you still have the double game week to make up for it. It's fine, whatever. But looking forward, do you think that this pep roulette could be like, I don't know, like could be detrimental to your fantasy team because you don't know who's going to play week in, week out?
Especially because they blank in game week 29. And that was probably going to be my cue to transfer one of them out. And that probably be John Stones. Diaz is the one I think that if, he's going to play in all the big games because they're so much better than him in their team. I think Laporte is a perfect replacement for Stones, but Laporte can also play at left back as well. Pep's rotation, he does this every single season. This is something everyone should be used to. It's not like he's just sprung it on us suddenly. He rotates a lot, he rotates all the time. And it will be a problem, especially if they're in the latter stages of the Champions League, because we could see the likes of Gundogan, Diaz, all of the KDB, all of their best players could get rested in the Premier League. If you think they play Manchester United on Sunday, if they win that, what are they, 17 points clear?
Yeah.
17 points clear at the top, or like if Leicester win, it might be less. But the season for them won't be over yet. But they can afford to rest players in the Premier League. So I just think it's going to be carnage. So I'm going to hopefully, I own 3 of them now, but I might look to just own 2 from game week 29 onwards.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And I think I'm gonna transfer out Cancelo, I think, for Cresswell at some point. I want to try to aim for it for that game week 29. So looking ahead to game week 29, that's for you guys that don't know, it's a game week where there's hardly any teams playing. I think the big ones are Leeds, Arsenal, Tottenham, Aston Villa. West Ham are also playing. Yeah. So we're trying to, it's a weird balance right now because those teams, I don't necessarily want all of the players from them, but I also want to try to get as many attacking returns from it and take advantage of people who might not have those players in their teams. So is there anybody that you're looking to get in now to prepare for game week 29?
Well, this is the thing. I sort of looking at the fixtures. I've already got Bamford. I might get in. I took Dallas out, but that might be a move I make. I don't want any Fulham players. Brighton, I have one of their defenders on my bench anyway, so he'll play. Don't want any Newcastle players. West Ham, I've already got Soufal and I did have Souček. I took him out, so I've only got Soufal, but I might look to get in Antonio for that game week. But I'll have to build that up. And also, I've got Martinez and Watkins, and I've got Son as well. So I have about 7 or 8 players. So if I get another 3, then I'll have enough to play. But I'm not overly fussed with like having loads of players that have those game weeks, because none of those fixtures shout out to me. Like West Ham against Arsenal, that's going to be really tough. Aston Villa against Tottenham, if Grealish is back, anything can happen. So it's trying to, you also want to put players in your team that you want for game week 29, but you also want further than game week 29. Like you do want Grealish, and might look to get Grealish and maybe Saka from Arsenal, but at the moment he's very like worn out. He's tired. Arteta said that. That's why he started on the bench in their game against Leicester. Jesse Lingard's a great option, but also I've looked at their fixtures. Do you pick form over fixtures? And I would always say when you choosing players, you should always go on form. So that's why I'm trying not to look at West Ham's fixtures and think, oh, they're tough, because he's had a great start to life at West Ham and he would be a really great cheap option. And at the moment, I'm looking to replace Harvey Barnes with someone that has a game week 29 fixture. I'm just not sure who yet.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. For me personally, I have Bamford, Rafinha, I have Watkins, and Watkins is one that I'm not 100% sold on, and he's somebody that I bought just because of game week 29, and I'm not really feeling him right now. I know
if Grealish is back by then, though, that makes a whole difference to the way Aston Villa play, and if Grealish is back, then Watkins is a fine option.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I thought that I forgot that Grealish was injured. I'm trying to think. I have Dallas as well. I want to get Cresswell in. Son and Kane I have as well. So I feel like okay, but I definitely feel like my team is a little bit like meh after that double game week and everything as well. It's just like I spent hours looking at this, and still, it seems like every week I'm like, the main players that I have are just blanking. So that brings me to the next thing. There's a lot of people asking, what do you do with Mohamed Salah and Bruno Hernandez? Because these are 2 players that are extremely costly and they haven't been getting returns.
I'm not taking either of them out my team, just because Salah's owned by 40% of managers and Fernandez is 60% of managers. So can you just imagine if one game, even for one game week, if everyone has him, then it doesn't matter, no one's getting points. But if for 1 week, one of them gets 2 goals and an assist, or 2 assists and a goal, you're just already 20 points behind. So I'm keeping them. I think Liverpool sooner or later are going to start scoring. Like they have to. Salah's on penalties. I mean, the only goal they scored at Anfield this season was a penalty, and Salah scored it. Bruno's the sort of player that he doesn't have to play well to get points. You know, he could just rock up. Man United could be playing badly and he'll rock up with 2 assists somehow. So for me, I'm keeping them. I can understand why people would want to get rid, and I would absolutely applaud anyone that does actually get rid of them, because I think that's such a brave move, even when they are playing badly. But they are at the moment, you know. I say that Bruno's got 2 blanks in a row. His returns after that are pretty good, whereas Salah has got 3 blanks in a row, and then, you know, a couple of other blanks before that as well. So it's hard. It's a really hard decision. But for me, I think the fact that so many people own them, you'd be at such a loss if they were to then get points.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm like on the verge, because I'm just so like Salah's 12.5. I'm like, oh, if I could just find somebody who is going to those points. But I also don't feel like there's that many options really for players who are playing well. Like, I think Harry Kane is a good shout. Son is a good shout. Tottenham are starting to get back more into a rhythm. But other than that, you have the big names like Salah, Kevin De Bruyne. Maybe you transfer him in instead. But I don't know. Again, Pep Roulette, so you just never know. Is there anybody you have your eye on for Game Week 27 that you want to transfer in?
This is my issue. I'm actually really happy with my team. It's the first time in ages I've got to this part of the season, and I'm actually like, okay, but I have just used my wild card, so I got in players that I know I would want. I obviously have to replace Harvey Barnes. Now, I could do the sort of cheat option and just put him on my bench and just play Bamford, Calvert-Lewin and Watkins, because they're the 3 strikers that I always have to bench one of, because I'm not going to bench any of my good midfielders. Calvert-Lewin has Chelsea, so part of me wants to bench him just because I'm hoping that, Chelsea keep another clean sheet. But then again, he scored last time, I think. Did he score? Oh no, it was 1-0, wasn't it? But he caused us caused us problems, and he's very good in the air. And so I'm looking to transfer someone in for Barnes. My 2 options were, I think we'll come to this, were Lingard or Mason Mount.
Interesting.
But the Mason Mount one would then get changed. I would transfer him out for Game Week 29 and get like a Saka or a Lingard in then. But yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to be brave enough to make that move, or I might just play my 3 strikers instead.
Makes sense. Yeah, I transferred Barnes out for Son, and because I was like, I want to get Son in, especially for Game Week 29. But I just didn't have I took a -8. I feel like
a lot of people know, honestly, so many people took -4s. And I think that's what I should have done this week. Instead of using my wild card, was just take hits, because you almost make that up. If they get 2 points for playing, so they have 2 games, they get 4 points, so that's like -4 already taken back. And if they get a return, then it's a bonus you've got like a plus. So I'm annoyed I did it, because I think I made like 5 transfers, which obviously would have been quite a lot if I was taking hits, and I probably wouldn't have made that many had I been taking hits. But I sort of, in hindsight, wish I had now rather than use my wild card. But
yeah. So it was a bummer, because Harvey Barnes was such a good differential and like such a good price option, and then he got injured. Really unfortunate for him. So you mentioned Mason Mount. He has 3 goals in 5 games. I know a lot of the Chelsea fans here are asking, what Chelsea players can we start to get into our fantasy team? So I think Mount could be a really good option. I think, how much is he now? Like 6 point something?
He's 6.8. So he's 0.1 million cheaper than Barnes.
Yeah.
So anyone that takes out Barnes can afford Mason Mount if they want him.
Yeah, exactly. So Mount is a really good choice. I want to get him in as well, but I'm a little bit nervous for Everton. So maybe after Game Week 29, I'll try to get him in.
I think Chelsea's fixtures are obviously Leeds, and then Game Week 29, and then we've got West Brom, Palace, and Brighton. So games where I would expect Mount to play every game. We know he's going to, especially being banned for the second leg of the Champions League, so he's going to play every Premier League game. And he's our biggest attacking threat. I thought Timo Werner was so unlucky yesterday. So unlucky. I think he's the unluckiest player in the Premier League this season. VAR hasn't been kind to him, and obviously it's a matter of fact. They've been doing it with everyone, and VAR decisions go for and against your team all the time. But I just felt so bad for him. I thought he was really good yesterday. He had a really good game. He was getting about. He was causing Liverpool problems, and I think maybe next season Bruno will be one to look at. But Mount has been, obviously Chelsea's best player. He scored a brilliant goal yesterday. And if I had the balls, I would put him in this game week. You know, he's playing in a much more sort of like further forward up the pitch. You know, we've got that cover in midfield, so he doesn't need to do that midfield work. He works so hard, and if he can start adding more and more goals to his name, then he could be such a good FPL asset, being so cheap. But also 8 clean sheets in 10 games. Rudiger's like 4. I think Rudiger's like 4 point something still. So Rudiger or Christensen is only 4.7. You don't have much attacking threat anymore from defenders. Maybe when Thiago Silva comes back in, which I think he will. With Zuma now not in the starting 11, we don't have as much attacking threat from corners. But as for clean sheets, you know, you look there, our fixtures, Everton will be difficult, but Leeds, West Brom, Palace, Brighton, you know, like Leeds obviously depending on how they play, but you know, more capable of getting clean sheets. We've kept clean sheets against Atletico Madrid, Man United and Liverpool now. So you'd think that, you know, more clean sheets could be on the horizon for Chelsea's defenders. So they could be good options, especially as they're really cheap.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'm going to try to get Rudiger into my fantasy team. Some people are asking about Christensen, but I do think that could be a little bit risky just because Thiago Silva should be coming back soon. And I think that Thiago Silva is going to replace Christensen in the start. But
it's a shame because, you know, he's come in and he's done such a brilliant job. I think 3 at the back just suits him. You know, we saw him play brilliantly in that formation a few years ago. And it almost seems such a shame to hear it be one or the other. And it would be nice if, you know, you could try and fit them both into that 3 at the back. But I don't know how. Thiago Silva, for me, has to play in the middle. He has to play in the middle. I think he's got the brains and he's got everything to play either side, but I think he will play in the middle. It's whether Christensen can then play either side of him. And if he can, then one of Rudiger or Azpilicueta could drop out. But I think out of those 3 defenders, as in Rudiger, Christensen, Azpilicueta that played last night, my man of the match, and I think a lot of people's man of the match was Christensen. I thought he really stood out, thought he was brilliant. And I just think it would be so harsh. Like, Thiago Silva's Thiago Silva, and Thiago Silva comes back into the team regardless. Like, he's fit, he's back in the team.
Exactly.
It's just a little bit harsh to just Christensen to drop out, but I don't know what Thomas Tuchel's going to do.
I really wasn't expecting Christensen to come into the team and play so well, honestly, under Tuchel. So massive credit to him. But yeah, like you said, I just don't know if he can play in that left center back or right center back spot. I think that's the massive question. If he can play there, then maybe he slots in for Rudiger or an Azpilicueta. But if not, then I think he's benched. But I do think it could be positive because Thiago Silva isn't going to be able to play every single game for Chelsea. He's just not. And next season as well, like if we have Christensen in, I thought that he's somebody that could be sold this summer, but now he's making a case for himself.
Yeah.
So it's definitely really interesting. I want to get to some questions, guys. If you have questions that you want us to answer, make sure to put them in the chat box because I'll try to get to as many as possible. Omar asks, is J5 a differential, extra clean sheet point, and penalty duty?
I think so. But I still think he can be rotated. Like we saw that, you know, we've seen that in the game before last when it was Kovacic and Kante that were playing together. He is a good differential, and the fact he is when he's on the pitch, he's on penalties is obviously a great shout. But I think going towards the back end of the season, you want players that you know 100% are gonna start every single game. And I don't know, I just think there's games like, you know, the last game where Jorginho might not fit, you know. I mean, I'm sure he will most of the time, but I don't think I would waste that money, even though it's only he's not expensive. But is he really going to get goals and assists galore? I don't know. Like, he might get an odd penalty every now and again, but I can't see him getting points that, you know, could warrant him going in my FPL team. But maybe, like, depends how, you know, the season goes. And obviously if we're in the Champions League longer, then you might see even more rotation in the Premier League. But I just think he is definitely a player, as are all the Chelsea players really, apart from Mount. are going to be rotated.
Yeah, no, I think the thing that you need to look at, like you said, Liv, is who's going to be an out-and-out starter, especially towards the end of the season. And for Chelsea, I think Mason Mount is the first name on the clean sheet. So if you're going to go for any Chelsea player, I don't think many people even own Mason Mount either. He could potentially still be a good differential option as well. So if you're going to go for anybody at Chelsea, I go for Mason. Did you look up the differential?
Yeah, 6.6%. So I think he probably has gone up after yesterday. I think he probably would have, quite a few people would have probably transferred him in after that. But yeah, he literally this week, he's the second most transferred in. And all of that would have been after last night. So he's got nearly 200,000 new owners.
That's insane.
So, yeah.
He's the perfect choice for a Barnes replacement as well. Yeah. So Sian has a question. He said, man, had Alisson as captain, oh, that hurts. I feel bad for you. What made you make him captain? I'm curious. Should have known better. Big up to you ladies for killing out here. My question is, who should I captain for game week 27?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you captained Alisson, because never captain a goalkeeper. I don't ever captain goalkeepers. Even if I think they're 100% going to keep a clean sheet, I still won't ever captain a goalkeeper. I would captaining defenders is as far back as I'll go. I'm not going any further back. It's a really difficult decision for this game week, because I look at the fixtures and, you know, Hernandez has Man City away. Salah has Fulham at home. But the way Liverpool are playing and the way Liverpool played at Craven Cottage and the way they're playing at Anfield that's not even a banker. Son's got a very good record against Crystal Palace, which I think I would go, if you've got Son or Kane, it's got to be one of them. Or if you want to go double game week, then Gundogan is I think I'm swaying towards Gundogan because of the double game week. But currently, as it stands, my captain is Gundogan and my vice is Son, and that might change come Saturday morning. But at the moment, that's how it is, and that's who I would say has probably got the best fixtures for this game week.
Yeah, I'm between Diaz and Gundogan, but then I'm nervous that Gundogan isn't going to play, or he's going to play a little bit deeper, like you said.
He'll play one of them. He'll definitely play. He'll definitely start. He didn't play against who did they beat? Southampton.
I don't remember.
Sorry, yeah, I'm literally getting mixed up.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe I got one. I'm terrible at remembering these
things. He didn't play against Wolves, so I'm 100% he's starting he's going to start the Manchester derby because that's the bigger game, and obviously he's been brilliant. So Guardiola will start him in that. It's whether he starts against Southampton is the issue. But if he carries on playing like he does, then there's no reason why he can't get returns. And like I say, he does play slightly further back, but he still does end up in positions in the box where, you know, he's more than capable of scoring. So yeah, it's difficult, but Gundogan's my first choice, and then Son or Kane, I think.
I have a stupid question for you, but this is something that I've never known, and I probably should have known. But what does the vice captain, does it give you any points at all? Because I feel like it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So basically, your vice captain is there. So if your captain doesn't play for whatever reason, so say you captain Salah, and then, I don't know, after the deadline in the warm up, he then does his hamstring, can't play. Your vice captain will then become your captain and will get double points. So it's like a backup. It's just like a backup captain. So that if your captain plays 1 minute and then comes off injured, then you're just really unlucky. But if your captain doesn't play at all for whatever reason, then your vice captain gets the points.
Oh, I didn't know that. So if in the double game week, if Gundogan played one and didn't play the other one in that week,
no, he would still be your captain. So if they play any minutes at all, if they've got 2 games or 1, if they play any minute, if they step onto the pitch and play a minute, then they are your captain. It's if they do not play any minutes at all, say they're injured or whatever, then your vice captain, however many points they get, will just be doubled.
That's so good. I never knew this. I was like, why am I selecting a vice captain? They never.
It's handy as well, because sometimes your captain decision, like, you might not know and someone's injured, and always make sure you pick a good vice captain.
That's really good. So we have an interesting question from James. He says, what young player do you think steps up next season that will be a must-have in FPL, similar to a Fernandez or Salah? We might not even know yet. You know,
That's come really hard. A young player. This is the thing with someone like Phil Foden. I just don't know if he's going to play all the time. I think Pep Guardiola has managed him very carefully, and obviously he's got the potential. Obviously, everyone knows how great he is. But is he going to play every Premier League game? Is it going to be a player that's so vital to their team and going to be so good in terms of points. I look at Man City and think Gundogan's sort of done it this year. He's not a young player. Man United, I don't think there'll be anyone but Bruno. Arsenal, maybe Saka. I think that's quite a bold shout, but like, if I'm going to pick a player from Arsenal that I think would be up there in points next season, it would be Saka for a young player. Chelsea, the same with Mount. Like, they both need to add more goals to their name, goals to their game, sorry. But I think that's a really tough ask because Bruno's come in and hit the ground running and has got the most points out of anyone now and just doesn't seem... And he's obviously, even when Man United play bad, he gets points. So I think that's... it's a really difficult question and I don't have the answer for it. I can't pick anyone that's going to have that effect on their team as those two players have had. I just can't see it.
Well, it's really interesting. Even somebody like Patrick Bamford, I remember at the start of the season, I like the name sounded familiar to me and I almost put him into my team and I was like, oh, whatever. He's like the same amount of points. And I didn't because I didn't know who he was. And then he goes on, he's one of the highest point scorers this season. Mm-hmm. Just from a promoted Leeds, so I feel like you never know what players exactly are going to do this. I like post restart Pulisic, if he can get to that, then
the sort of game just passed him by yesterday, didn't it? Like he only came on, it was just like, because we had a lot of the ball before he came on, and then he came on and we didn't have any of the ball, and I just felt like he was chasing shadows a little bit, which is a shame. But yeah, he's still so young. He's only like 21, isn't he, or 22? So he's got plenty of time to, get back to that Pulisic, and we know those levels are in him, so he'll be fine. He could be one. Timo Werner could be one.
Yeah.
If he starts scoring next season, as the chances that he gets, he could be scoring like near enough every game. So obviously that won't be the case, but like the chances he gets, he could. So he could be one of them. Obviously he's only 24, 25. So still pretty young.
He hasn't been playing at all.
Yeah.
I want to see him start up top, like playing off of Timo Werner, like a front two of Werner and Havertz. I think could have been really interesting.
I think that's what people are saying, aren't they? They want Havertz to be like more of a number 9 and to lead that press, and we might see it. I don't know. I think that's where he played a lot of the time for Bayer Leverkusen and didn't watch them very much, so I don't actually know. But yeah, I think Werner sort of works well when he is that number 9, but can also have someone in there so that if he wants to drift out to the left, then he can.
Yeah. So we have just I knew he was from the academy, but I just it's been a couple of years. So
also, he's been in the Premier League before. No, he hasn't been in the Premier League before, but he just hasn't quite made it in all the clubs that he's been to. He just hasn't quite been that striker that he now is with Leeds, and Marcelo Bielsa's given him a chance. And to be fair to him, he has been brilliant. I don't think anyone, I'll put my hand up and say I was one of these people that thought that he wasn't going to be, he was just going to be like pretty average, but he's been great. He's been really good. So yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah. All right.
And he's staying on the team.
I transferred him out for 1 week and then I brought him back in because I wanted to get like Ollie Watkins in and I still wanted Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've spent too many hours on this. All right, I'm just going to ask you a few more questions. Arthik asks, should I bring in Diogo Jota in?
So I had Jota. When he was like scoring loads, I had him instead of Salah. And obviously he got injured and they came to a point where obviously then I had to get Salah in. But, Liverpool's attack have really struggled recently. They haven't been scoring goals. They just look, it's weird. They're not even creating chances. They had one shot on target against Chelsea yesterday, and that was a Wijnaldum header that was straight at Mendy. Like Salah and Mane and Firmino, those front three didn't have any shots on target. And that's mad. And something's got to change. And we saw yesterday when Jurgen Klopp wasn't afraid to bring off Mo Salah and put Jota on. And I think if Jota's fit, he could be a great option. And I just think hold off for a second. Hold off just so you see their next game against Fulham. If Jota starts, if Jota scores, if he plays well, then maybe look to get him in for the next week. But also remember, Liverpool don't have a double game week. So don't have a game in game week 29. So that could be one to just keep your eye on. Maybe think after that, or if you want to transfer him in and just put him on your bench. But I would definitely hold off just to see if Klopp puts him in against Fulham on the weekend, and then make your decision after that. Because Liverpool need something up front, and Jota could be that man. But you just got to wait and see if Klopp trusts him first.
Yeah, and right now I just feel like it's really risky. Even to have Salah, I'm struggling so hard with this, and to have any Liverpool players because they, like you said, they aren't playing well. They aren't scoring goals. They only scored 1 in their last 5 at Anfield, which is insane.
It's a
After their
penalty,
incredible home run. Yeah, a penalty. Yeah, I read that they didn't score like a goal from open play since like late December or something.
mad,
Like
yeah.
mad. So their run is just like not great. So I would kind of stray away from any Liverpool players. Even myself, I'm struggling with Salah, and I don't know what to do with him. But that's going to be happening every week until he starts scoring again. But Liv, thank you so much for joining. Honestly, well, you guys know that we have this every week, Fantasy Friday. Super exciting, just talking all things fantasy. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining, and let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter at Olivia Buzaglo, talking fantasy sometimes, talking Chelsea most of the time. So yeah, come and join me if you fancy.
Awesome, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to drop it a like, subscribe to my channel. We have this Fantasy Friday show every single Friday, so it's lots of fun. And yeah, until next time, I'm out.